What's up, you guys? It's Jake Cardenas, and welcome back to another one of my YouTube videos. If you haven't been here before, I do videos of all kinds of projects with all kinds of art materials, and I just have fun with it, give you tips and advice and such, and you just enjoy. This is another one of those painting on a skateboard videos. I've done Invincible, the Ninja Turtles. I did Deadpool versus Wolverine. And obviously from the title and the picture that you see, I am doing one of the Kids Next Door. I grew up watching this show. The show is pretty funny. I don't remember a whole lot of it, but I do remember a few episodes here and there, like the asparagus episode. I love that episode. I'll never forget it. Like you saw, I projected it and I went over it with a Sharpie. Right now I'm going to gesso with a clear gesso by Liquitex. I do 2 to 3 coats of this. I'm only going to show you one though. The reason I use a clear gesso is so that I can see the marker that I drew and outlined with. After I let the gesso dry, I start blocking in. If you haven't seen any of my other videos, just in case, or don't know what blocking in is, what you do is pretty much color in the area with the overall base color of what that specific thing is going to be. Like, for example, the shirts here are going to be blue. Obviously it's not this blue. If you've seen the characters, you know what I'm talking about. But the whole idea is to get a similar color down so that you already have an idea where all of those colors are going to be, and you have something underneath instead of just the plain board. But yeah, I projected it. I went on my tablet and I sketched out the characters all in one area. I took a picture of the skateboard and I sketched it out. Then I projected it, went over it with a Sharpie, and I gessoed it, like I said, 2 to 3 coats, and then you go over it, blocking it in like this. I block in everything before I start with details. The background is I'm leaning towards a purple, but right now it's gonna be just a really dark purple, so that it doesn't clash with the characters right now until I start putting more details in. But yeah, you just block in, and once you're there, that's when you can start. You wait for it to dry, and then that's when you can start layering. Your colors can get a little more specific now. Like, for example, the blue in number 2's shirt, I'm going to make it lighter, closer to what it's actually supposed to be. And then same thing with the hat and the pants and everybody else's clothes. Once the blocking is done, I can start getting a little more specific. I don't know if you can tell in the video, but like my colors are kind of thick. The way that I lay down my paint is pretty thick, and that's the reason for that is because I use heavy body acrylics. I like using golden paint, and I like using Utrecht paint. They're both artist grade paints, and instead of like taking a second to blend in every color, I work in layers. I just layer on top of each other, and that way you see a lot of the brush strokes. That's what I'm trying to say. I'm not a big fan of painting in red. I feel like I could never get the red shades down correctly, and that always throws me off. Green, for like number 3 though, it's a little easier. I'd rather work in green than red. And then skin tone is another one that's tricky. You know, those kinds of colors you have to be very careful with, and you take your time. There's a lot of mixing going on. The good thing is that when you're painting fan art characters, you know, like these fictional characters, there's no urgency or there's no need for making them realistic. So a lot of these, like skin tones, for example, can be flat instead of actually adding in those blues and purples and reds and such. It can be flat. It just needs to be close to the actual color. Here goes again with that red. I did not like painting in the reds. I don't know what it is about the color red. Another reason why I like working in layers instead of blending in everything is because when the acrylics dry, they dry darker than they actually go down. So for example, on number 5's skin tone, I needed to go over it multiple times to lighten it up little by little, because every time I dried it would dry darker, and she's not that dark. Same thing with all the other clothes and everything on the characters. For the background, as you can see here, I'm getting lighter with my purple. Mostly because there's a lot of red and blues and browns, and then there's a little bit of green and orange in all the characters. So I decided to go with a color that's not already there, and that was purple. If you've seen any of my digital fan art drawings, you'll see that I kind of do like this brushstroke chaotic thing in the background. So I'm going to try and replicate that in the background of this painting here. About the materials that I'm using, I am using Princeton Select brushes and Princeton Velvet Touch brushes. They're acrylic brushes, but they're small handle brushes, and they're very easy to use, and I love them. They're really strong. I have also used them for watercolors and everything. I don't recommend it for watercolors; it's more of an acrylic thing, but they're great brushes, and you can get really fine lines like I'm doing here with the outline. Trying to distinguish where all the proper lines are going to be and darken all these spots up with the black and then the Velvet Touch round brush. And but yeah, I use those brushes to get all those little details in. And for example, like I said, outline. Usually when it comes to outlining something like this, I either go with the brush or I go with the paint marker. But in this case, I went with the brush. I was feeling more comfortable with the brush since it's so much bigger. All the materials that I use, like the paintbrushes and the paints and all that stuff, that's all going to be in the description below. Make sure you check that out. I do have affiliate links to all these materials. If you buy any materials through those links, I get a little commission for it at no extra cost to you. You're just buying the materials as you would at the store. The only difference is that you're doing it online. So check that out, and thank you in advance. And outlining, when it comes to outlining and putting all these details in, it's so satisfying when you go in with a really long round brush and you add in all those little fine lines, and then you start touching it up. For example, here I'm lightening up all these areas, adding on all these lights, adding in all these highlights. Sorry. The cool thing about the other cool thing about fan art characters and all these, like, fictional characters, is that a lot of the colors are kind of straight out of the tube kind of colors: greens, reds, blues, and so on. So there's not a whole lot of mixing. I do a little bit of mixing so I can get different highlights. For example, here in the orange, you don't see these kinds of highlights in the characters. I add in white and really bright yellows and bright blues and such to add more depth to the characters and make it pop more. The background, for example, that took a lot of mixing. I did not have a purple like that. But the cool thing about golden paints is that they have a whole series of pre-mixed colors for you. So if you have a specific color in mind that you are going to need a lot of, for example, a light purple, and you don't want to be mixing a bunch of purples or mix a whole ton of purple at once and hope that it doesn't dry, I recommend just buying a tube. But that's only if you're going to be needing an insane amount of that specific color, which I should have done for this purple. Because if I would have had it straight out of the tube, I would have layered it out and then just added white every layer I went in. If you notice, I'm getting lighter and lighter, but I don't cover what's underneath completely. I still let it show through. Kind of create like a chaotic color blast thing. I love it. I did this once for one of the digital drawings because I kind of just wanted to have a color in the background, and I fell in love with it. So now all of them have it. And every time I do like a painting with one of these characters, I do the same thing. After putting all those final touches, the last thing to do is my signature, which I'm going to do with a white paint marker. And once I get that done, the skateboard's good to go. And that'll be it. By the time that you do see this video though, this skateboard is long gone. So I actually finished this skateboard a while back. I took it to one of my conventions, actually a nostalgia con. If you haven't been to one of those, they're pretty cool. They have a lot of retro and nostalgic voice actors and actors and such. And I actually sold this board and it got signed by 4 out of the 5 voice actors. So stay tuned so you can see those pictures. But yeah, thank you guys very much for watching. I appreciate it. Check out the links below. Check out my other videos. Leave me a like and a comment, and I'll see you guys soon.